Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. The Wasteless World Talks are here again with Kevin and Bill and myself, and we would like to wish every single woman in the world great time. And there is one man which shared this birthday with you, and he's sitting here with us, and it is Bill. So you see, you are not alone. And I hope you will like the talk today, because as usually we don't know what we will speak about, but maybe we can speak about a topic which we discuss in the noontime session, and this is age. We spoke about age. So what does age represent for you, Bill?
So since it's my birthday, then I think I will humbly take a stab at that. My age, as I look back, is like many different books. Growing up, being a young adult, being a father, many different books, and now I'm at a place in my life where the stress is less. I can enjoy more. I spend time writing and walking on the beach. I'm very fortunate to be at this point. And I think of my friends and my family who did not get to this point. And it's incomprehensible on several levels, but here I am. So we'll do the best we can.
And what about you? What is age for you, Kevin?
Well, I was just thinking one of my favorite expressions is "there's no fool like an old fool."
Thank you, Kevin.
No, it wasn't. But I was thinking that with age comes wisdom.
Oh, I like that one much better.
Yeah, and I think I've noticed here in maybe it's a Danish thing, but there's a lot of people when they reach 55, 60, they're almost excluded from the jobs market because of their age, and it seems like a remarkable short-sighted waste.
Oh.
I don't know what they do, but there's just so much potential not being used.
That's a huge waste. I changed jobs when I was 57. I worked with a recruiter. I came back to him when I was 61, and the first words out of his mouth were, "Bill, it was hard enough to find you a job 5 years ago. Do you really want to go through all this again?" But that's true, and it's a tremendous amount of waste. And over here in the U.S., we are tapping into trying to tap into many different labor markets, such as older people, such as people who have a prison record, which have been excluded, and so on. Just the labor market is so tight, and so hopefully we will include more people in the labor market because we need to.
It is interesting that this is a setup of society. So, when I was 45, nobody would like to employ me. And one was my age, and the second, I was overqualified. It was officially a rating, overqualified. So if I would like to work in a middle management or even as a worker, they will not employ me because they fear that I will speak into what they are doing. I will advise them and so on, which I will, but in a good manner generally. But what is interesting right now, when we have this session in the afternoon, there was one member of the audience came from China, one was from Japan, and for them, age is the age of some kingdom or age of some king or something. So it was not age like the human age, how old we are. And so it was a different meaning for them generally. The first which came on their mind was a different meaning. And the second, what was interesting, we discussed there that we never ask how young you are. we all the time ask how old you are. Interesting. So why we don't ask? I all the time say because my granddad will be in 2 days, he will be 100, and all the time I say he was 100 years young. Because he feels like that. And all of us, I think, we feel the same. We don't feel old, we feel young. And some of the young ones feel old. So that's strange. It has nothing to do with the number, generally, I think.
No, I think one thing I remember when I first moved to Denmark, there was still a lot of heavy industry. So you could see guys who were working in shipbuilding, they needed to retire at 50 because the work was so physically demanding that it had destroyed their bodies. And thankfully, these days, there's not so many of those jobs around. So people, I think, should be allowed to work until they don't want to. It shouldn't be an arbitrary cutoff date. Okay, in Denmark, I think the retirement age is 65. When you reach 65, that's it. You can't work any longer. I think it should be the ending should be much more flexible because, like you say, everybody is different.
And if you speak about this, in my country, just few days ago, there was about a big discussion whether we should go into rent into 65 or 68 or whatever. And all the time, the date is decided by people who usually never worked, never physically worked, who are far from any market because some of them spent all their life in politics. And these people decide when it's too early or too old. And I do fully agree with you. It shouldn't be set by the law and same for everyone. When I was working in 1990s, I was working on a castle, mid-level castle, generally built 11, something like that. I do not remember. And there was a huge difference when seniors from Czech Republic came, and some of them has been not able to walk 11 stairs into the church. And there came somebody from the West, and these people ran up the tower where was 100 stairs. It was such a big difference. And in just 20 years, I see around me a lot of people, senior people, online skates, on bikes, a lot of activities which you cannot even imagine that the people in this age will do 20 years ago or 30 years ago right now. So exactly as you describe it, and Bill as well, we don't feel old. And I think it should be matched. And of course, one of you mentioned the wisdom. And of course, the wisdom came with the age. We cannot run so fast. We cannot maybe work so fast. But we work in a way which is frequently much more efficient. So we don't need to run or to work any hard because we can do it efficient. And that's the difference. And this is what must be recognized by the market. And it should be recognized even on the level of the politics and setup of the society and so on. But it takes time. So I don't know if you remember, but I mentioned some time ago, I mentioned that I expect that the European Union will rename Industry 5.0 because of this clash with the intellectual property with me and so on. And just now, and I mentioned that it maybe will be named New Bauhaus or Bauhaus, which was some connection to Germany and so on, and Austria. And do you know what? Today or yesterday, they publish a new Bauhaus, and they call it New Bauhaus 2 generally, and it's a new strategy. And I wrote to the organization who promoted, it's called AIT, and I said, so you finally started to do Industry 5.0, and they replied, no, it's not Industry 5.0, but generally the content, if I take together the Industry 5.0 by European Commission and I take New Bauhaus, these both together are the original Industry 5.0. It's so interesting. I will send you the link. It's so interesting that they split it into to generally waste more money or time or whatever. But Abel, you would like to say something, so.
Well, I was just wondering if there was a parallel between how we treat age and not having strict cutoffs, and more senior people are doing more physical activities and so on. Is there a parallel between that and the change that we're seeing in the definition of work. So, for example, several countries, UK, I believe, Northern European countries, have started the 4-day work week, 32-hour work week experiments, and some of the results are coming back very, very favorable. And some of the companies that have experimented with this are saying that they are going to not go back to the old way, and the discussions of what we used to do a lot of physical manual labor, dangerous labor, and now we do far less of that, and we are at work, and we are working less, and we are working from home a lot more, and so on. The whole description of work is changing. And what this allows us to do, what will people do that are working 32 hours a week now? Well, some of the people will get a second job. Some of the people will, and so on. But some of the people, and I expect especially people who have raised their children or are kind of in that next stage of life, will be turning more and more to the arts and either writing a book, learning to paint, sculpture, and so on, and using the creative rather than working in the mines or the mills until they die, right? So is this going to then be a new renaissance? Will there be a flowering of the arts because now people don't have to work until they die? So age plays into that in some way. Gosh, there's so many moving parts to that question.
Yeah, there really is. I've just finished the first draft of my new book, but the first book, I had the idea, and it sat in my head for 25 years until I had the time to be able to write it. Right. It wasn't that I didn't want to, I just couldn't ever get the time. Once the kids were older, a couple of them had moved out, then there was the freedom to be able to take a few months off of work to write this thing. And that was the first opportunity. So it could be a golden age for us in the next 30, 40 years in terms of arts and creativity. I would hope so.
It will be great. On the other hand, I don't see if there will be a 4 working day as a mandatory, let's say, one day, I think it's not a good thing. Generally, you mentioned that some will find for the last day, they will find another job, they will find a painting or whatever. Generally, this is the meaningfulness of our life. And just today in the morning, there put some Czech guy, a poll, whether you enjoy your holiday or something like that, whether you would like to have it longer or something like that. And I pointed out that I didn't have a single day of holiday for 10 years. And that's true, generally. And I don't feel that I need it. I don't divide the time between working time and free time. I simply don't. For 10 years, I do not. And before, I did some way, but I spent more time in a work that was a standard for me. I do not know any other, so to be honest. And it was quite interesting that we came to a discussion about meaningfulness and so on. So I think that many people will not be able to find this creativity inside. And if you are bored, if you do not know what to do, the first thing which you do, you pick up your neighbor just with a finger. It's funny. But then you take a knife or a gun. And that's the beginning of a war generally, because you do not have anything to do. So it will be easy to tell, we have something for you, take the gun and we will have something together. And this is the revolution and war and similar, which I worry. Of course, I will be very happy if everyone can create something beautiful, nice, books, whatever, because it will be really, you name it, great. The new Renaissance, it's really great name. But I slightly fear that again it will come someone who say, no, it will not be just one or two companies. Everyone must do it. And that's bad. That's bad because we are individuals. So the same as we should decide when we cannot do the work anymore, the same we should have the right to decide whether we will work 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 days. It doesn't matter. Because one more thing is that there are new technologies which many of the employees, and I know two girls generally who work in a company who decided to work 4 days a week. And they get a computer home and they get a note, whatever. And they said, yes, we can spend just 4 days in a work, but our computer must be on all the time. So it's a little pretending to doing something which is not being done in reality. And all the time when I see the ads in Czech media, when they look for someone to give a job of a manager, bonus is company car and company notebook and company mobile, which means you should be available permanently. So it's not advantage for the candidate, it's advantage for the company. But we sell it as an advantage for the candidate. Horrible.
So the conversation just went from age to work, and I'm probably guilty of that, and I apologize. The work, the definition of work, has just changed so dramatically, and is about to change probably more dramatically. And there used to be a very clear separation between work and home. You leave the office at 5 o'clock or whatever time you leave, and your home time is your home time, unless maybe the telephone, which is on a wire attached to the wall, rings and your boss asks you to please come back in or something. But nowadays, we are, as you say, in constant communication and on call 24/7. It was interesting to see the European Union passed some laws about, or maybe one of the countries did, about how bosses are not allowed to call workers on the weekends or something like that.
I think it was Denmark, wasn't it?
Sounds very Swedish, actually.
Or Sweden, some of the Nordic countries, and I think France tried to do it as well. I think there was, I saw it as well. Yeah, I don't know what was the result at the end. Generally, they did not. Nobody published about it, but
I think it's one of those work require. It's not a requirement, but one of the things about work that different countries will address in different ways. But I think in my mind, there's little doubt that the description and requirements for work are changing grossly, hugely, and the world that my grandsons will go to work in 10 or 15 years will be very different from, well, certainly different from the world that I went to work for in the 1970s, or that my kids went to work for in the 1990s. But what will it be like in 2040 or 2050 when we have things like, well, everything is changing. Everything is changing. The way we work and the way we pray and the way we, the food that we eat, just everything is changing. And I think then there will be new ethics and governance issues that'll come along with that we'll struggle to cope with, and the governance and ethics issues will be handled differently by different countries. I think we're in for a wild ride. Buckle your seatbelt.
What I think generally, and I would like to hear your opinion, I think the way how we are doing right now, or I'm doing, so that we do not differentiate really between the work and the free time. We do in work something what we enjoy already. Even if it's called work, we get paid, but we enjoy it. Before we did it because we must. Right?
Yes.
Now, it is the selection. And I would be very happy in the wasteless world generally. It can be the matter of selection. We do not have to, because I know, even if I take my computer and sit somewhere in the forest where I'm not training right now, am I working or am I having a free time? I don't think we should divide, because in the meaningful life, it will be something, there will be not the silos which differentiate the work between, but at the same time, it will not exhaust you. Right now, many jobs just squeeze you and get everything out of you. They don't care whether you will be ill after. No, they just would like to have the result, which is usually meaningless. So, but they would like to have it because somebody says numbers must be there. But I think the right way will be if we really do not feel this silos. If we really, like all three of us right now, if we can just swim between, do our work, enjoy it, and at the same time, we take it as a part of our life. So what do you think about this not dividing working time and free time or family time? It's called different. So, sorry,
I think
I'll pick it up. Pane Česák, můžu vám zavolat za hodinku? Díky moc, díky zatím. Sorry.
I think that it depends upon the job. I think there's different categories of job, but I think that jobs like teaching and nursing, they need to be protected, because people who do work that's more of a conviction, they can be so easily exploited. Whereas a job like I do in strategy, it's it's a part of my life. It's not a 9-to-5 job. You think about it all the time. So you can be doing something else, but somehow you're still working, and it's a joy not to have to sit in an office, but to be able to go away and do the work even in the supermarket. So it depends a lot upon the job and the personality. But I think that some jobs definitely need to be protected from overexploitation.
I think generally all the jobs should be, because the misuse, and somebody named it as a new slavery, or maybe it was me, I don't know, but somebody named it, and neo-fascismus or neo-something. Yesterday I read something, but I was too tired. But it was quite interesting article from 1970s, so it was not new. And there was this exploitation generally topic. I discussed, it was quite interesting. It was an African from one of the African countries, South Africa probably. And it was quite interesting. And the exploitation is, you see it everywhere. So it's not that, the only difference is the people who really love to work and really deliver. And unfortunately, these are the most vulnerable people to exploitation, because they would like to give even more. So the boss, when he is unfortunately the type which we know very well, is pushing on this, using this weakness for us, this love to work, and squeeze them, and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, and to be honest, I don't know how to protect it, how to protect the people, because there is such a hidden ways how to really do it, how to squeeze them out up to the burnout generally. And when you are burnout, they don't care. They take someone else and he or she will do your job. I speak from my own experience.
No, I fully agree with that. And in the supervisory roles that I have had, if I have 5 people on my team and one keeps performing and does not push back if I ask for a little bit more effort, that's the one that I'll go to when I'm in trouble, right? And others spend a lot of their effort, waste a lot of their effort trying to protect their silo and talk about their rights and so on. So I think that another issue this brings up is that the way that we train managers, and the way that we lead an organization, what the organization looks like, are all side effects of this question that we're talking about. and will continue to morph, and will morph at different speeds in different industries and in different countries. And so there will be a whole like a quilt, like a quilt with many different patches in it, as we do this. But I don't think they will ever be unified and everybody moving and learning how to be a better manager together. And there will just be general trends without the specifics until you get down to the very company, specific company itself. But I've seen a tremendous amount of change in the way managers manage from, excuse me, from the 70s to today. Tremendous changes, but especially in the smaller companies, there's always that one leader who has the vision and pushes other people. And if you don't like to be pushed, then go find another job. And that used to be the way when there were more workers than there were jobs. But today we have more jobs than there are workers. So managers are saying, what don't I know? This has worked in the past. Why isn't it working now? I enjoy trying to envision how it's gonna go and so on. But again, there's so many moving parts.
And there is this great expression: if you want something done, ask a busy man. Getting back to your point, Bill.
I like that. I've never heard that before.
Do you think that the approach changed with the age of the people?
Absolutely.
So it is based on experience generally, but then you have to have the will to use it, because otherwise you are experienced enough to exploit, but you can choose that you will not exploit. I think before you just follow some rules and standards, but when you, let's call it, grow up or get older, you can choose. But many don't choose the right way. If we call it the right way, the meaningful way, so they choose the all wipe and sugar.
So if you reach a point where you are now wise and can make a better choice, also that same person might be in the harness, like a horse in the harness for 40 years, doesn't have any other activities that engage them, doesn't know how to choose or how to find another alternative or another activity. That's the part of slavery that fits this discussion very well. It's one where not necessarily whips and chains, but certainly economic whips and chains keep people with the blinders on, and force them to build silos for their own self-protection. Fascinating discussion.
So what we will do to change it? I try to generally to be the one who can be followed. So I do it the way which I think is right. I'm sharing it. It resonates with many. You know, I have no employees, but I work with so many people, and it's like the real role model. So I don't even call myself a leader. I don't like the name. I don't call myself manager for a long time. I hate the title generally, but I don't feel good when I was yesterday in a car with one of the general managers generally, and he get a call and they spoke about me. The other guy didn't know that I'm sitting in the car, and they are speaking so in such a way that they really respect what I do. So they said he's in such a shady office generally, and still he is able to communicate with the whole world how we can adopt it. It was very interesting to listen. And I know the other general manager, which I was sitting next to for 30 years. So we know each other. So he knows that he can make this call without any disturbance to me. It was very interesting to listen. So maybe if there will be more role models, let's call it the role models generally, not the rich one or influential one or whatever with titles, no, the real one, which you meet in the street, and you say, yes, that's the right thing, which I will try to do. And if these people will understand, I think. And for me, the age, there is a very important topic, and I discussed it with the deans as well, the respect of the age. And I don't say right now the respect of the young to the old. I would like to have it both ways, because it doesn't. It's not true that if you are young, then you are stupid, or you have less in your brain, or you cannot do anything. No, that's not true. But in many countries, the young ones should pay respect to the old ones. But nobody say that the old ones should do the same.
Right.
And sorry to use the word old and young. I know I should use it better, but sorry. A vocabulary is limited.
Works for me.
So we have 6 minutes 30.
I was thinking about older people themselves. I don't want to retire, and I've always looked upon it as something to avoid. You know, others can't wait to retire, but I think that what everybody needs to bear in mind is that it's not an achievement. It is just the start of something new. So if you're looking forward to your last day and you're going to retire, and maybe you go down to a warmer climate or something like that, that's not the end goal. You've still got 20 years to do something with in this new life. And I don't think enough attention has been spent on actually preparing people for this new stage in their life, because suddenly you've got a lot of wiser people, usually quite well educated, and they need to give themselves something to do. They need to prepare well in advance. Think about winding down for the job and winding up for what's coming next, because it can't be nothing.
This is great. You will.
Someone expressed it as a portfolio retirement. Perhaps you work a little bit, like I work a few hours each afternoon. I write books in the morning or have conversations. I'm on the board of directors of a local health center, and so on. And with all of these together, I'm finding a purpose, a meaning for myself. I'm able to contribute, and so that's so important. But I think that this is something that has changed. When I first entered the workforce, everybody's goal was to find a company that you could work for 40 years, get your golden watch and your pension, and then go and enjoy life, whatever enjoy life means, right? But really enjoying life is a matter of learning throughout your life. And we must keep learning, not only because the technology is changing, but about ourselves. And I have a few high points in my learning. One of them was fairly recently when I watched a few presentations by Maria Kondo, the Japanese lady who helps you declutter your closet. And it changed the way that I thought about a lot of things, including what friends do I have around me, what brings me joy, and so on. This need to keep learning needs to be, everybody needs to feel this in some way. The expectation needs to spread that we have to keep learning. When you stop learning, then what do? You go fishing all day. So I think we're changing.
Both of you just name a very important part. We start our life, let's say, with education. but we should prepare for the rest of our life. So for the, let's call it last years, but it can be very long, and it's longer and longer generally. So my granddad, 99. So, and he lived over the Second World War, so it was not an easy time, but still he was able to live up to this age. So I think there should be a part of our life in the productive time should be the education for what will be done after the productive time. And it can be the second productive time. Just the word productive will be defined differently. And I am participating for 7 years already in we do workshops for students generally where we explain what we do and so on as entrepreneurs. And I am advising the organization, please, let's do it for seniors. Because why shouldn't senior become entrepreneur? This is one of the solutions. They can become entrepreneur, or they can become writer, or they. Important is to tell the people, you are not waste. You are important. So we have last a minute, so let me say to everyone, have a nice time, free of waste and wasting in all its forms. Stay safe and free, and we will meet on the original address. And let me wish again, happy birthday to you, Bill.
Thank you. Thank
See
you.
you in a minute. Bye-bye.
See you later. Bye.
Bye-bye.